A city once divided by a wall is now a battleground for competing visions. Disagreements play out on the streets of Berlin between the far-right Alternative for Deutschland and the so-called Antifa, or anti-fascists. Counter-AFD protesters call out, shout out, fascist, Nazi propaganda. They're against these people who say they're marching for women's rights today in support of what they say are oppressed migrant women.
Verpisst euch! Verpisst euch hier!
The AFD says it is against illegal migrants from Syria and elsewhere who they claim are rapists and killers. But the group has been accused of racism, Islamophobia, and being a platform for white nationalists. Now the AFD is trying to polish its image and rebrand itself with the help of people like Leyla Bilge. She's a darling of the far right and the type of migrant the AFD says it wants in Germany. At home, Leyla's Turkish-Kurdish roots reflect in her hospitality. But she adamantly defends her right to stand up for Germany without being called a traitor.
You don't have to be German to love this country and honor it. It is very important to know where you're coming from, that you know your traditions, culture, and mentality. That is a beautiful thing.
Leyla was 6 years old when her family moved to Germany from Diyarbakir in Turkey. She says her parents forced her to marry at 18, an experience that left her traumatized. Later, she left her religion of birth, Islam, and converted to Catholicism.
I fought with myself a lot about what's wrong and what's right, who and what I am, actually. You grew up in two different traditions, in two different worlds, the German world on one hand and the Turkish-Kurdish world on the other, and you sit right there in between, and that has been complicated in the past and still is.
Do you think people would accuse you of turning your back against your own people, your own culture, your own color, for the sake of an ideal that doesn't belong to you?
I think it is more my own community, because these things usually get you more instead of when a racist is saying stuff about me. When a racist is doing that, it's just passing by me, I don't care. The Kurdish community has accused me a lot of times of betraying them.
To the AFD, Leyla is a migrant success story, but for others, she is an opportunist. Hakan, a former journalist turned politician with the Left Party, says Bilge is a tool in the hands of the AFD.
When we look at the campaign of AFD, we saw that AFD is the enemy of foreigners, is a party that doesn't approach different religions positively, that excludes Muslims in society, that defends the idea that Muslims don't belong to Germany. So for a party like this to address different parts of the society, they need foreigners. I think they need people like Leyla Bilge to get votes from different parts of the society and to portray themselves as non-xenophobic.
As debate rages inside the Turkish community over loyalty and identity, a divisive but crucial voting process is underway across Germany and Europe. High security welcomes voters at the Turkish consulate in Berlin. Inside, they are handed two ballots, one for Turkey's presidential election, the other for parliamentary polls. This is one of 13 polling stations set up across Germany. Almost half of the 30 polling stations set up across Europe. Now, Germany is important because 3 million German Turks live here, and in elections where 5% of the vote will be from outside of Turkey, votes here can make a big difference. Turkey's ambassador to Berlin, Ali Kemal Aydin, says outside votes are a critical part of the democratic process in Turkey, and European states need to take a neutral approach.
As you know, last year German authorities limited non-EU countries to hold rallies in Germany 3 months before the elections. We hope that, as German counterparts said, these limitations are applied to all parties. But we saw that there is a difference in practice.
The debate around Turkish political rallies in Europe has led to questions over freedom of expression and brought into question the loyalty of Turks in Germany.
I'm a person with two citizenship. I'm both Turkish and German. You can't divide a person.
We're helping both the Turkish and German economies. And although outsiders think differently, we are not what they think we are, but we still see this offensive discourse.
The politicization of the Turkish community and pressure to prove loyalty to Germany is a cause for concern for Ruprecht, Polenz. The former Secretary General of Germany's ruling Christian Democrats says Germany's worsening relations with Turkey have a direct impact on the Turkish community.
The bilateral relationship between Germany and Turkey are for Germany the most important ones with regard to foreign policy, due to so many people of Turkish origin living in our country. And obviously, if the relationship between Germany and Turkey is close and good, this helps for the Turkish people with Turkish origin living in Germany to integrate, to feel well, to feel accepted, and so on and so forth. If the relationship worsens, people feel torn apart or feel pushed in a way on the other side of the polarization.
The Turkish community in Europe finds itself caught between questions of identity, integration and loyalty. It's a debate closely followed by Josef. He heads the European Council of Foreign Relations and says a lot of work is still needed to reconcile differences not just between Germans and Turks, but also between their countries of origin.
You always have to bear in mind that all actions on the foreign policy front necessarily have a domestic side to it. We tend to sometimes forget that.
It's become quite politicized, the issue of the Turkish elections here in Germany and across Europe, with a ban on political rallies.
Well, you know, this is an after effect of the last election that happened and of the very apparent to the German policymakers idea of the government to use its means and abilities, also its visibility, to campaign for its own party, which of course is done in most democracies.
We're having two different discussions which are conflating or intersecting somewhere. One is at the macro level between states, Germany and Turkey, personalities, issues, EU accession, all of that. Another is internal debate within Germany of what it means to be a Turk in Germany or a German Turk.
Exactly. Now that's the issue, and these two sometimes enter into a sort of unholy relationship because they prevent political actors from actually following their core business, which is focusing on the longer term interests of their country. Instead, they are driven by sort of the emotions of the moment. Now, I think it's unavoidable. But it's also manageable. You know, probably among European countries, outside of Turkey's immediate neighborhood, probably the relationship between Germany and Turkey is the strongest. Also has the most bonds outside of politics.
Josef, thank you so much.
You're welcome.